You gave a bunch of producers a chance to work with Polo G and they turned you down.
I don't think they believed in me or anything that I had the contact, but I never received loops from them.
How did you go from the artist under Polo G to Polo G himself? What kind of relationship did you build with that artist in order for him to co-sign you to that degree? I have a studio full of equipment. Sometimes it gets dirty. That's just a part of life. Cleaning it can be straightforward if it's just dust on a flat surface, like on top of a studio monitor or something. That's easy. What's not easy is cleaning all those little crevices and gaps in something like a MIDI controller, a MIDI keyboard, that kind of thing. Or if you're deep cleaning something, if you've taken apart, I just took apart my mixer because I had to fix one of the faders. I'm inside of the thing. It's dirty inside of there too. How do I clean that stuff? So I recently, and shout out to Bex, I recently got these cans of BW100, and it's not compressed air, it's not a lubricant, it's an actual cleaning solution. It's a solvent, but it's made for electronics. It's not gonna mess them up. You can even spray it on gear while it's still powered on. I tried it out, maybe I'm crazy, I tried it out on my computer, but I've just been kind of cleaning everything today. So my MIDI keyboard, look at this. I needed to clean this. There was just dirt. I don't know, I must have been eating something. I couldn't vacuum this stuff out. I can't really access it with a dust rag, so I just started going crazy with the spray. And I know it's safe. It's not gonna destroy the materials that I spray it on. I have an old studio computer. Sometimes it doesn't turn on, and that freaks me out because I have thousands of beats on it still. And the problem is one of the RAM chips, so I think it's dirty. I cleaned that, sprayed BW100 directly onto the thing. It evaporates immediately, so I'm using it to get dust out of stuff. I'm using it to actually clean sensitive electronic equipment. So shout out to Bex, appreciate the sponsorship. This is actually something that I use and I'm gonna continue using, so I'm glad I got a couple cans of it. It's embarrassing when your studio is dirty, when people notice the grime between your keys, that kind of thing. But it's also good to know that if I do have to open up my mixer again, like I did last week, that I have a safe option to clean it. Okay, so that was your first big placement then, because a gold record is big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 4 million streams in Sweden for a gold, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's different based on the country size. We get screwed in America because the United States is so vast. So I would love to go gold off of 4 million. I need to start working with more Swedish artists. Okay, so then you started sending beats to American artists. How did that even happen? How did you get that information, and why did you want to start focusing on American artists when you were having such success in Sweden?
Because I didn't really see anybody in Sweden trying out like the hip-hop scene or trap scene in America. So I just started out making like trap beats, regular trap beats, because my sound like grew so fast in so short time of period. So my beats couldn't fit the Swedish artists anymore. So I sent them out to the US artists, and they picked up on it. So yeah. So
when you say you sent them out, how were you DMing people? How are you getting contacts? What worked?
I was doing all that, emailing, DMing, like spamming the comment sections and shit. Yeah, I did all that.
Out of all of those techniques, what actually worked?
The email. But it was like I did it in a personal way because I wanted to like build a relationship with them. So, but it worked. So
who was the first artist that responded to your emails? First American artist?
His name is T.O.B. Duke. He was like under Polo at the time, and eventually that led to me getting into Polo. But we can talk about that. Yeah.
And we're talking about Polo G then.
Yeah.
Okay. What year was it that you actually got beats to Polo G?
I think it was the summer of 2020.
Okay, so this is all very recent.
Yeah, pretty.
You're 3 years into your career.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
Okay, so you're 20. You're 3 years into your career. The world is at your feet. Life is good. So with the Polo G records, how did that process unfold? You worked with his artist first, and then
Yeah,
I guess how did you go from the artist under Polo G to Polo G himself? What kind of relationship did you build with that artist in order for him to co-sign you to that degree?
so Duke showed me to another of his artists named Squirry, I believe. Yeah. And they had sessions all the time because they were in LA at the time, and Polo would come through to the studio like a couple of times to see what they're working on and shit. And eventually he just like heard one of my beats and he took it from Duke. And that record ended up being Fame and Riches with Rather Rich. After that, I didn't have like, he didn't contact me or anything. It was like one time only. So I started working on like trying to get like more beats, more songs with Polo. And they had another session, I think, and they played all my beats, and he heard my tag all the time. So he wondered like, who's this producer? And they gave him my I think, and he wrote to me on Instagram the other night, and yeah, we just started working.
How many songs do you have with him, and how many of them have been released?
That I don't know. I think, how many is released? Five is released with him, and yeah, I don't know how many unreleased. I haven't really asked him like, or thought of that question, because I don't want to like. There's the thing, because you can't ask like artists certain questions because like you're stepping on their toes or something like that. You can't like ask for pay with the artist. You gotta talk to their managers and stuff. So I haven't really like asked that question.
So when you deal with Polo, it's all about just creating the music. You're not worrying about anything else.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember when we talked, when we did our live collab, you were talking about how at that point in your career, you were just trying to make beat after beat. So you were making a ton of beats at that time, right?
Yeah. I made like 10 a day. Yeah.
Okay, so this is possible. Everybody go tell Wizard he's full of shit like you did with Mini Producer. Remember that? We had a Mini Producer was on, and he said he made 10 a day, and people were like, "What the fuck? No, he didn't." Anyway, it's possible. I've seen people do it. I've done it. Not every day. I have like, especially when Reb is on my ass, maybe like 5 or 6, but 10, you know, hey, but when you got Polo in your ear,
they don't turn out as good like as if you're taking your time with the beats, because your creative like process just like bleeds out when you're making that many a day. So
well, yeah. How many do you make now normally when you're not, you know, putting a gun to your own head?
2 or 3, maybe 2 a day, maybe 1 a day. It just depends. I really take my time right now, trying to make good music, like, because at the time when I made for Polo or for like Antoine, the Swedish artist, I just wanted to get placements like really fast and like have 10 cuts on an album, but now I'm just taking my time.
Okay, but that worked. That method worked because you had 5 with Polo G and 4 with Antoine. So it's clearly not a bad method. So as you're making those beats, what was the process like? You know, are you composing the melodies, or are you collaborating with the sample makers and melody and loop makers?
But I do both, but at the time, mostly just like using loops, going on to the next one, just listening through. So yeah.
And it's loops from people that send you loops, or how do you get those loops? Are you developing relationships with sound designers?
So yeah, it's actually funny. So in the beginning, when I got the Polo contact, I had like 200 followers, and I was asking like producers with a lot more like placements, followers, and stuff for loops, because I wanted loops for Polo, and I don't think they believed in me or anything that I had the contact, but I never received loops from them. So I just like started using Looperman. I asked for loops for the people I've been working with before, and they ended up getting the placements. So yeah, I'm pretty happy for that.
That's funny. So you gave a bunch of producers a chance to work with Polo G, and they turned you down.
I don't know.
Yeah, every co-producer, right? Every co-producer on the 5 songs on Hall of Fame, you got them like their first placements ever.
Yeah, pretty much. Some of them like had some placements, but not that big. Yeah.
That's crazy. What was that Rep? You posted a picture. I think it was you who posted a picture of Wizard like sitting on a concrete slab or something with his laptop making a beat.
Yeah, with your beat fill and your on the ground. Yeah, man. Wiz makes magic anywhere he goes.
Yeah, what was it? You were just walking through like a parking structure, like, nah, I gotta make a beat.
No, I don't know. Where was that picture taken?
The one on your IG. The one on your IG with I think it's
Jack.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was in the garage. I just did it for the pic. I didn't like.
Okay, well that was very honest of you. I think. But I took it seriously. I need to get off social media. You know, every time that people talk about how social media is ruining our collective psyche, that's me, because I believe that stuff. I'm like, oh, Wizard's really in the parking structure making hits.
He could though. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Wiz makes a beat like in an Uber ride on the way to a studio. You know what I mean? You just lock in with your laptop and headphones and good.
Yeah, I've made beats on buses before that ended up getting placed. So why not? Okay, so let's start at the start then. When it comes to the two of you converging, Reb, you mentioned briefly how you met Wizard way back. Tell us again how you both first met, and then we'll get into what led to the producer manager relationship.
When I was a kid, I went to this. I don't know how to explain it in English.
Kind of like a community center, like after school community center, right? And they had a studio there.
So they invited me to go meet like an artist. I don't know. At the time, I didn't know who Rebstar was, but they kind of explained it to me and showed me like the videos and the songs. So I was pretty hyped, like to go do something I've never done before. Going to the studios, and at the time I wanted to be a DJ, like an EDM producer type. I showed up to the studio, and there Rebstar was. He kind of like showed us how to use the program. I think it was Logic, and yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was dope. And then that was a long time ago. Then we reconnected last summer. Everyone was just blowing up my phone like, yo, this producer from Malmo, Sweden, where we're from, is all over Polo's album. And I was like, everyone's just like blowing up my phone like, yo, good for him, that's dope. And they're like, no, like you should check him out. And then we had some mutual friends who connected us, and it's so crazy because before I got on that call, the mutual friend said, yo, he said he knows you. And for like a fraction of a second, I thought to myself, could it be? And then I was like, nah, no way. And then I got the number on FaceTime, and it said, you know, we've met before. And as soon as he said it, I was like, it was like full circle. You know what I mean? Full circle. So it was it made perfect sense. Everyone was blowing up his phone and wanted to work with him, and you know, people were reaching out, you know, out of the woodworks, and there was a lot to do, and there was a career to manage, and we had a very short conversation about it, honestly, because at the end of the day, I think it just made perfect sense, and I'm all about just supporting, you know, and a creative's vision and helping realize what it is they want to do. So it was a no-brainer for me. And especially since we had that relationship that was super organic. We had met when you were 12, right? 12? Yeah, 12. And it was, I was just happy. I was like, even if we don't work together, I was just happy for him. So it was, that's how we met and then reconnected. And that was last summer. It feels like, I can't believe it's been 6 months already, but yeah, it's been a lot going on since then.
So what made you want to sign Wizard? And then I want to ask Wizard, what made you want Rebstar to manage you?
For me, it was, honestly, I'm trying to think if I can say it in the right order, but off the bat, I just, you know, someone like I've met when he was like someone you care about. It. This industry is, no matter how successful you are, you're always going to need to have, first of all, you need a team, no matter who you are. Everybody needs a team. You can decide how your team, you know, how that's going to be structured and who's going to be in it and what they're going to do, but you need a team. And it was getting to the point where things were getting overwhelming, and, you know, everything's brand new. We're talking about an amazing producer who doesn't have experience being in the industry. And even if you have experience, you still need other people. You can't do everything by yourself. So for me, it came from just a genuine, sincere place where I just wanted to like look out for him and like do my part in making sure that he gets to where he needs to be in his career, and all the pitfalls that comes with that. And also, you know, I've always resisted management, but I think it's something that I'm just naturally good at, humbly speaking. And Wiz was telling me, you know, all the people that have reached out to him, and certain people I knew, certain people I didn't know, and certain people that could be good for him, and just having a discussion about where he wants to go. And I was in, you know, I'd already moved to New York at the time, and he was telling me his ambitions is, you know, to move to the States as well. It just made perfect sense. It just made perfect sense.
All right, so Wizard, what made you feel like signing to Rebstar was a good idea? I'm sure you had other offers.
Yeah, I had a couple offers at the time, because like everyone was reaching out to me about like the album. Yo, let's sign a deal. You need a pub deal. You need this. You need that. And it was just like everything came from America, and I don't know how like the process is getting into America, like, and Reb is like, he's from my city. He made it out there. He knows all this stuff, like from 0 to 100, like getting to know people, what to do, what to not do. You know, it's just like a comfort, like a safety, like kind of feeling when he like presented the offer. And yeah, I have another manager, Fame, as well. So we have one like on foot with me, and one like in America.
Yeah, there was just a lot of trust. I think it was just mutual trust. You know, like I trust you and you trust me, and we trust each other's visions, and I think that's the most important thing. I always tell people, I'm like, with your manager, you gotta have a better trusting relationship with your manager than you do with your priest or your doctor or your like. You need to be able to, you know, that, and it needs to be a two-way thing. You need to be able to really, you know, be honest with each other and yourselves as well. And I think, you know, we check each other all the time, or we check ourselves all the time. So it's like it needs to feel like you're talking to family. And business is business, but you need to have that, because if you don't have that foundation, none of the business is going to make any sense.
Yeah. Okay. So now that you manage Wizard, what do you expect from him on a day-to-day basis?
Nothing on a day-to-day basis, because at the end of the day, if you're a great manager, you work for the artist or the producer or the writer. You work for the talent, right? So what I expect is he tells us what he wants to do, where he wants to lead, and of course we have, you know, creative a vision as well. But our job is to help realize his vision. And if Wiz, I'm making these names up. So if Wiz says, I want to work with so-and-so, and I don't want to send beats out to these 30 other artists that have reached out, you know, then that's what it is. And our job is to get him to that point where he can work with the specific artist he wants, or he wants to go to LA and work with, you know, another producer or whatever it may be. That's our job. But as far as expectations go, it's really just, you know, it's interesting you say that, because everyone always looks at it like, well, you know, the manager represents the talent, but the talent also represents the manager. So if I, you know, make an introduction, I know I can feel comfortable and confident knowing, well, Wiz is going to make a great impression because I know him as a person. So it's really about that's what the expectation is, really making sure that you're working with stand-up people who know how to conduct themselves and have a good vibe. Like we went to LA together, and Wizard had some sessions with Business Boy, amazing producer. Shout out to Business Boy.
Yeah, he's from my state, so shout out to Business.
Word, yeah. So
it's a small world.
It's interesting because I got to know Business Boy many years ago, and we never worked together, but we just got to know each other and we just stayed in touch. So my first time meeting him was when Wiz was in town, and I wanted to introduce them to each other. So we went to his spot, and they were cooking on some records, and that's the thing. It's just about maintaining relationships and making sure you cultivate them as well. And yeah, we look out for each other. That's really what it is. But yeah, expectation wise, like I don't expect Wiz to send beats. He'll send beats whenever he wants to send beats. You got it. And as an artist myself, you know, I respect and appreciate the creative process that goes into that. So I think a lot of managers or people who aren't necessarily artists or have that background, they're like, well, why don't you just send more beats? Or why can't you? That's not how it works. This isn't a 9 to 5 where you can just crunch some numbers or type, you know, you're creating something that doesn't exist. You're inventing something new every time you're making a song or a beat or writing a record. And you gotta respect that process.
Sorry, I was smiling at my phone because I got the BeatStars notification. That's always a beautiful thing. So with regard to when you and Polo G started working, Wizard, how many beats were you sending to him? What seemed reasonable for you?
Shit. I didn't have a limit. I just kind of like, I think from August to, that's when I got my, the contact in August to December, I was making like, on average, like 5 beats a day. And I was sending every single one to Polo because I didn't work with anyone else. So yeah, 100% of my work went to Polo in that time. So I don't know, I maybe sent like 300 beats to him. I don't know.
I'll say this, since Wiz didn't want to answer the question, I can't say how many records that Polo's recorded with Wiz, but there's a lot of records. There's a lot of records unreleased. So there are albums worth of records, yeah.
So then this is something that I'm curious about. No one has asked this in the chat, but how did you send them? I mean, were they attachments? Did you have a Dropbox? Were you sending them through iMessage?
I sent them to his phone directly.
Okay,
Just
so right
them.
through iMessage or something, you had everything synced?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. That's the reason I just got an iPhone, actually, Reb, because of T-, because T- told me we had a long talk because he's, I don't, why am I even talking about this? It was embarrassing because we re-exchanged numbers after many years, and then he was like, why are you green? And I was like, I should probably listen to him. And yeah, it's a rough transition. Well, yeah, you know what though? For anyone trying to, if you can afford to do this, I wish I had done this. If you can afford to like have an Android and the iPhone at the same time and like transition between the two, maybe do that. Or maybe you just want to jump right into the frying pan, because
I'll tell you what, I'll say this. professionally speaking, if anyone that texts me, if they don't have an iPhone, they most likely won't get a text back. So I also deal with a lot of people internationally. So you got to have an iPhone. You can't even have group chats. Like FaceTime is an issue, and just get an iPhone. If you're serious about your career, I'm not saying you can't have Android and you can love it, you can do what you want, but just make things easier for yourself. Get an iPhone as well. That's one thing I wanted to say. And another thing, shout out to T Minus. I'm actually pulling up to his spot soon. I'm gonna make sure he sends you a. Have you learned how to like use GIFs yet on your iPhone?
What? Yeah, I mean, I know how to do the basic stuff. It's just
I don't know if you're in the 20. I just wanted to make sure. There are GIFs, pain. There are emojis. It's a whole thing out there.
No, we had those on Android. Has those too.
Yeah, but those are like the GTA. They don't look. They ain't high def. That's for sure. That ain't no HD emoji in the Android.
That's what all you Tim Cook motherfuckers think. Anyway, so Wizard, all the beats that you were sending to Polo, he was the only one who was getting them, or were you also uploading beats online at that time?
Before that, I was posting beats online, like on YouTube. But they didn't gain any traction or anything. Got like 200 views, 500 views at max. So I could have kept grinding that, but it's really hard to maintain posting every day. Sometimes you can't. I just couldn't. It was too much for me. I know a lot of producers who live off like YouTube beats, and you gotta have discipline.
I just want to jump in. I thought about something I saw in the comments. People were wondering. So you know how Wiz said I was spamming people, I was DMing, I was emailing beats, I was texting. Like, here's the thing he didn't mention that he did or have, which 99.9% of producers who send records don't have. Make sure that what you send is good, because it needs to be actually not even good. It needs to be exceptional. I get random unsolicited records. I open them sometimes. I listen to them. But if it's not fire, you're just wasting people's time and you're wasting your own time. So sure, it works. It's not about being lucky. Of course, you know, it needs to be the right timing. There are a lot of other things to consider, but people do listen to records. I'm not encouraging you to go spam people. I'm saying find a way to get people's attention. But when you have that attention, make sure you have something that's worth taking the time to listen to.
Well, no, that's good. I'm glad you said that, because we have I would say this is a pretty negative comment. This is getting a bit old. This conversations, always repeating the same thing about connections. Everyone can send beats to artists they don't know, artists or A&Rs, whatever. And that's absolutely not what Wizard's story was. He wasn't cold emailing. I mean, he was initially. But
the thing is, this is 2 years ago. So right now it's very saturated. Everyone's doing it, and it's very saturated. Like these artists who put their mail out get spammed. So when I did it, it was not like people were still doing it, but it was a lot less.
The person who said the negative thing just came in 2 minutes ago. So I think this may be. I don't want to let negativity hijack. So let me turn this into a teachable moment. If you walk into a room and there's a conversation that's been going on for a long time, rather than taking the last sentence that you heard and essentializing the whole conversation about that and then responding, I think it would help to either ask questions or just kind of wait and listen to see what unfolds from the conversation. That's just kind of a networking, social navigation tip. It's not, because again, what Wizard was saying was that with his story, he was basically networking his way from Sweden all the way to Hollywood, because it went from the Swedish placement to cold calls to direct emails to artists who were signed under Polo G to artists that were signed under artists who were signed to Polo G, and then eventually he got the direct contact there. So it does help to listen. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so I think that means that
I got
being receptive.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, being receptive will help.
There's another interesting thing was that I mentioned, like how you direct like when you sent it to Polo and you said, write to these records if you're feeling angry. You know what I mean? It's not just about things like that.
Yeah.
Like stand out and give some direction, like produce.
You need to like push them to do other things. And in order to do that, you need to literally tell them, like, if you're feeling this type of way, record to this. Because the GNF record, I think I said, like, write to this, no, record to this if you're angry. So, and he picked up on it. He responded with, like, 2 ice emojis. And then, like, 2 months later, the record came out.
That's an interesting... Because now you're giving direction in addition to just saying, here are some beats, check it out. I do feel like, especially when, say, somebody is sending me loops or something, if they gave me an insight as to who they envision on the loops or what the mood is, that does inspire me to listen to them. If someone just says, here's a pack of 50 loops, I'm like, damn, man, 50 loops. But if someone's like, here's a pack of 50 loops categorized by mood, and I click on it, and the first one is soulful and the second one is sad or something, like, oh, this is so much more helpful. I'm definitely going to check these out.
Yeah.
Here's
even
a
if
good
you're not
question.
in the room with someone, you can still produce. Even if you're on the, you know, sending records out, you can still be a part of the process. And that's what you just got to find a way to make yourself fit in and add value to that creative process.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, let me write that down. Even you can still produce, even no, seriously, this is a timestamp. Even if you're not in the room with an artist. This is amazing. Okay, so Big T Nice, I think that's how you would say it. This is a good question. When you start initially sending beats, are they MP3s? Are they waves? And then at what point do they ask for stems? And how does that work out for you in general? Or how did it work out in Polo G's situation?
So I send out MP3s because it's a way smaller file. And they're either way going to play it on speakers. So, yeah, like sending wave and stuff is like, it takes a lot of time to download as well. But MP3 is just like quick, you know, like how it sounds, how it's going to sound. And they record on it. And if it gets placed under like an album or a single, they ask for stems. Like their team gonna ask for stems. So yeah.
So when these placements happen, Rebstar, what do you do as the manager? What are the steps you take to ensure that this is a successful placement?
Well, one of the things that I think is overlooked is you want to make sure that the record sounds like the producer envisioned as well. With the mix, you want to make sure it sounds the right way. Have they brought in other producers or musicians to replay something? Have they done any arrangement changes? You want to make sure that if you're managing or working with a producer, you want to make sure that the producer is happy with the record as well. And then, you know, there are a lot of things that go into it. You bring in the legal team and you make sure that the paperwork is right, because at the end of the day, it's not about getting a $10,000 check for a beat. It's to make sure that, you know, what are the royalty splits? What's the publishing split looking like? Are there any samples that need to be cleared? And is that going, you know, is that going to be taken from your pocket or someone else's? Is the label covering everything? There's a lot going on, but in addition to negotiating the producer agreement, also, at least, I don't know if other managers do this, but we want to know as much as possible around the release plan, just so that we can coordinate if there's anything we can do to help amplify that. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
So then, in general, what should producers expect from a management deal?
You asking me?
Yeah. Well, both of you. I guess I want to know from
right. What producers should expect? Honestly, there are it's a very hard question to answer with a simple answer, but so I'll give you 2 different answers. One is there a career to manage? If there is, then you already know what to expect. Their job is to help you not only manage your career, but also help elevate your career so that you can focus on creative. Not to say you can be oblivious. It's still you know what it is? This is what it is. you're essentially a company. So WizardMCE Inc. And you own the company. You're the chairperson of the company, and you're essentially hiring a CEO that you can fire, that you can replace, you can demote, you can, you know, reward, but you're hiring a CEO that runs the day-to-day of the company that you own. It's your creative vision. You might be like, well, I'm going to, you know, build 5 more stories in this company, or I have another vision for what I want to do, but you're bringing in people who run the day-to-day. That's essentially what you're doing. And then if you don't have a, you know, much of a career yet professionally, but you know, this is what you want to pursue, and you feel like you could use an extra pair of hands, then you should look for someone who, honestly, you just need to find someone that believes in you. That's the most important thing. And other things, you know, there are other factors that aren't as important. The most important one is finding someone who believes in you and your vision.
Yeah, you gotta have like the same vision, the same end goals. For me, it was more like having a like safety net, or like someone who could protect me if like with deals, with like building a brand, etc. It's just like I wanted to focus on building my brand, so I could like hire a manager to make me want to focus on music like every day, so I don't have to worry about the stuff behind the scenes and just focus on music.
And another thing too, as the manager, you got to be prepared to take up a lot of shit from a lot of people. And, you know, a lot of the times you're conveying what the producer wants, but they shouldn't be the bad cop. It's like what Wiz said, like him and Polo, or him and any other artist, they focus on the creative. Everyone else focuses on all the business, so that it never affects your relationship. Because one little thing can completely change someone's, you know, perception, or if you want to make sure that you're focusing on creating something amazing and having other people deal with everything else. And it's not like, oh, these are our ops and we got to get as much money as possible from this. And no, you're even, you know, managers, you're building relationships with them too, and the labels and publishers. It's all about doing good business, and you need people who can do that in order to, you know, keep growing and staying relevant in the music industry.
So Grantastic had a good question when you were speaking about listening to the placement, the final product of the placement, and seeing if they stayed true to the producer's vision. Were they in the, I guess specifically they asked about the Polo G placements. Was there rearrangement? Did anything surprise you once you heard those records when they rearranged them, if they did, or if they mixed them differently than you would have mixed them?
Yeah, some records, like I remember like the Fame and Riches specifically. It feels like the whole beat has reverb on it, like the bass, the kick, everything. And yeah, just like little details, like how they master the 808s, and like, yeah, sometimes it gets like annoying because sometimes the beat is built around like the 808s. They have to be loud, and they just like lower them to be very like quiet and not as like in your face as you want them to be.
I have a funny anecdote, or I don't know if it's funny, but inspiring and insightful anecdote, completely unrelated to this, so I don't want anyone to jump to conclusions. But I was in Stockholm with Boy Wonder not too long ago, and he got a mix from, he had produced a record, and it was 2 really, really amazing artists on the same record. And he had produced the song, and he got the mix back, and he was really disappointed with the mix, really disappointed. And he said they fucked up the whole beat, the vocal, everything. It didn't sound the way it should, and it was not what he had envisioned for the production at all. And he, you know, he said his demo-itis, like the artist was so used to their version of the recording, and they tracked their own vocals and put some, you know, they drowned it in reverb, so that they just wanted to keep that same sound, even though nobody else liked it. And it's a very tough situation to be in, because at the end of the day, it's the artist's face and the artist who interprets the song. But as a producer, you also have a vision, right? You're the one contributing to, the song usually starts with the producer, with the songwriter. So it's hard to find that balance of compromise where it's like, well, who's going to be, if you both can't be happy, who do you want to, does the artist get their say, or should the producer get their say? And not, who cares what it says legally speaking, but just finding a place where you're comfortable, or being able to accept that sometimes it's not going to end up sounding like you envision.
I feel like if you're Boy Wonder, you have a little more say. Maybe not. I don't know.
No,
I guess because I hear from like big producers that they're going through the same struggles that the producer who just got their first placement yesterday is going through.
You know what it is? I was with him throughout that whole evening. He could have said something to the artist, but he also respects the artist's vision. Do you know what I mean? So it's hard finding that balance where you don't want to get in the way of someone else, but at the end of the day, you also have a lot of thoughts to express. But Wonder's a straight up guy. He found a way to get his message across for sure without hurting anyone's feelings.
Well, yeah, I don't think somebody like him is able to accomplish all the things that he's able to accomplish by not understanding how to navigate social situations in a respectful and polite way. So I know that you started going down this path earlier, and I stopped you, Rep. Let's just kick the door down. How many plaques did Wizard earn over the last year? What were some of the highlights for Wizard in 2020?
So we're talking about 3 Hot 100 records. We're talking about 5 songs on Polo G's album, Hall of Fame, platinum selling album, 2 gold singles, 250 million streams and counting. Yeah.
That's a lot, 250 million. And then you also referenced getting publishing deals offered to you, Wizard, probably immediately following the Polo release, right?
Yeah.
So did you end up signing a publishing deal? You did, right?
I ended up doing it before this year ended. So, yeah, I had to take my time to, like, choose the right publisher, like, looking over the offers, and, yeah, just making sure everything's on point.
Yeah, because there was a photo of you, Reb, Fame, and the, what is his name from Warner?
Sean.
So Sean, yeah, we did the deal with Sean Holiday and Irving Azoff and Ryan Press at Warner Chappell. Yeah, well, shout out to them. You know what it is? What people don't understand. Very few people understand this, and a lot of companies, corporations take advantage of this. You don't sign to a company. You sign to the people. You really essentially sign to the people that you're dealing with. So. I was crazy. I was talking to Fame about this, and he said something that I loved earlier today. No jab, no shots at Universal, but he said, bro, working at Universal is like working at McDonald's. Like, the person at McDonald's in Budapest does not know the people at McDonald's in Queens. Like, it's the same company. You might have the same outfit on, but you can't go to McDonald's in Yonkers and say, yo, I work at the other one on the other side of the world. Let me go back in the kitchen and wash my hands. They're going to say, you don't have those relationships. So you're signing to a person, and you need to make sure that person believes in you. And even if they don't have all the leverage and all the juice, if you can tell, well, this person is a go-getter, they really believe in me, they're going to champion for you at the company. And of course, the higher up they are, the more leverage and influence they'll have automatically. But yeah, shout out to Sean Holiday and Ryan Press.
Yeah.
So let's jump into publishing deals, because those are serious. I mean, it's a record deal for your underlying composition copyright. And that's a serious thing to get locked into. Why would, in a general sense, why would a producer want to sign a publishing deal? How is a publishing deal beneficial?
So there are a lot of different ways. First of all, any producer that's had a placement will tell you it takes a very long time until you see royalties. Even if the song goes #1, you're not going to see a lot of money until a year and a half, 2 years later. If it's an international record, it might be even longer. So there's the financial benefit of, you know, you're receiving in advance. And publishing is very different than a record deal, because in a record deal, they might just give you an advance off of the potential you have as an artist. Publishing deals, they always talk about something called pipeline. And pipeline essentially means, well, how much money are you going to be pulling in the next 6 to 12, 18 months? What placements do you have? How much royalties are coming in? And then they'll do a calculation depending on how badly they want you, depending on how hot you are. They'll say, oh, I'm making all these numbers up. Let's say, okay, we can tell you're going to pull in $100,000 off of your publishing royalties in the next year or two. We'll give you 3 times the amount if you sign with us right now. So that way you have some, you know, you have cash, you can invest in it, you could move, you could relocate, you can invest in your career, you can do a million other things. So there's that freedom. And all of them, any publisher you sign to, they need to collect for you. So they'll handle all administration. That means if your song is played in Tokyo and it's a huge record, you don't need to sign up with the PRO there. Or if your song is huge in Sweden, you don't have to reach out to BMI or ASCAP and tell them to contact the Swedish equivalent Stint. The publisher will deal with all of that. They'll make sure that you also get your splits, because what will happen is you get a big record and you're, you know, not that big of a producer. They might want to give you very little percentage off of the publishing, even though you should be entitled to a larger cut. So they'll handle that as well. If someone jacks one of your records or someone steals or samples it without your clearance, all of that stuff. And another thing, which very few people at publishing companies do well, in my opinion, there are some that are amazing at it. Not a lot of them know how to A&R, and they don't curate very well sessions, like very good sessions either. But their job is essentially, if you sign a co-publishing deal, that means they essentially own a piece of anything you produce during that time. And in addition to the administration, they give you a higher advance, but they'll also help you get more sessions and get you placements. That's what their job is to do, whether it's sync to get it on TV or film or commercials or games. Also, if I got these beats that are perfect for Cardi B, they got to their job is to get it in her hands or her people's ears and make sure they listen to it.
Oh, that's a good reminder for me, actually.
So that's what it is. You got to get these records out, and also a really good A&R at a publishing company, they'll know which other producers to introduce you to and which songwriters to introduce you to, and not just big artists like, Cardi or Roddy, but like, there's this amazing rapper from Chicago who's next up. You should lock in. You'll make amazing music. It's about finding someone who has the ear and vision to see around the corner. Because that's the thing, right? Yeah, everyone's talking about the A-list artists and whatever, but a year from now, we're going to have another. Like, imagine 2 years ago, who was really, even though she was really big, it wasn't like every A-list producer wanted to work with Olivia Rodrigo 2 years ago. Everybody wants to work with her now because now she's hot. But you need to build that relationship and not just go for the biggest, hottest artist. And it'll lead to that, like what Wiz did. He worked with emerging artists, and that led to Polo G. So it's not about trying, I got these records, they just need to go to Drake. No, find other people that they could, produce for others. Don't be that selective. Find people you like and forget the streams. That shit will come later.
I had to timestamp that. That was good advice. So let's see what else. What do the publishing companies expect from you as the producer? What are they wanting from you on a consistent basis? Because I know you sign a publishing deal. It's not like you just sit back and you're like, all right, time to count this money. It's like they are on it. Either they're on you or you have to be on them.
Yeah, you need to work consistently on the next thing. Like if you want to send out to whoever you want to work with, you gotta stay on your feet. You can't sit back and relax and just chill out. You gotta stay working. You gotta like
Yeah,
put yourself in a mind where you don't have this type of money and just like start from scratch again.
This was an interesting question, and I'm going to give some insight. So would Polo G or any other artist be upset if they found out some of the beats that they were given already had lease sales? Polo G recorded to a beat of mine that was on my YouTube page, linked to a BeatStars link. Also, one of his I think his biggest record pop out with Lil TJ was a BeatStars beat, because I've interviewed Iceberg. Check out that interview, because he has worked with Polo G and Lil TJ quite a bit, and a lot of the Lil TJ beats, including the one with Polo G, were all YouTube beats. So do either of you see this changing? I think maybe 20 years ago this may have caused more of a stir in the industry, but now it feels like with each generation of artists, the internet, especially BeatStars, especially with Old Town Road, that's now just becoming part of the whole process of getting a placement.
Yeah, that's how a lot of people get discovered too. I don't think it's an issue. If the song gets placed, you got to take it down from BeatStars, do that. But no, I don't see, unless you've been specifically asked by an artist. Like, let me put it this way. If your song, it depends, it's all about the origin. If you put up a record on BeatStars and then 6 months later, Roddy Ricch wants to use that record, fine. But don't send out beats to Roddy Ricch if you have a relationship with them and put them on BeatStars. It all depends on the relationship. If you're sending records exclusively to someone that they're expecting you to send, don't put it on BeatStars. But otherwise, yeah, for sure, that's how you get discovered. And you'll make money in the meantime too. Build your brand.
Okay, we're unfortunately at like the 1 minute left mark. I have more questions. Maybe later in 2022, we can have another all-star Wizard Rebstar panel. What I want to do, I'm going to post the link in the chat. If you want to see me and Wizard making a beat live via the cloud sessions, which Rebstar helped put together, click on that YouTube link. Never done anything like that before. I don't think Wizard has either. It was fun. Somehow it just worked out and we made a dope beat. So check it out. Also, last thing, how do people follow both of you? I know there were questions about your username, Reb. And then Wizard, you've never been on here before. So how does everyone follow and keep in touch with both of you?
You can find me on IG, WizardMCE. I only have IG. So yeah.
Yeah, vintage.repstar. It took me some time, but I responded to every person the other day from the last chat. I did it this weekend. So I know it took time, but like I said, anyone that DMs me through this, I will definitely respond to you. Just bear with me. But yeah, thank you.
And OT Mills, yeah, no problem. OT Mills, don't worry, you did get here late. That's fine. All of this is archived, so the second it's over with, you can just watch the conversation in its entirety on BeatStars Twitch or their YouTube, whichever you prefer. I see that you are on Twitch, so you can just watch it on Twitch. It's archived.
But yeah, I just want to say one thing. Don't be discouraged by negativity or things like that. And I know there was someone who didn't sound like they believe in themselves, but keep doing your thing, bro. Don't let anyone discourage you, and you just believe in yourself and remind yourself why you're doing this. You're doing it because you love it, right? If you're doing it for the money, then there's more opportunities to make more money doing other shit. Just have fun with it.
Way more.
Don't worry about the results.
This is what we talk about on the MEC podcast all the time, because Dame came from the financial sector. Obviously, you're in the financial sector, even an entry-level position, you're making more money than a producer who's just starting out. I tweeted this morning that I'm not successful because I'm the best at making beats. I'm not successful because I came into the game with the best connections. I had nothing. I'm from Wisconsin. The reason that I'm succeeding, and Business Boy too. Like that man's got Rihanna records and Eminem placements. We're from Wisconsin. Both of us are from Wisconsin. People don't even know where that is on a map. So consider that, and then listen to what I'm saying, because I'm living it every single day. Every single day, I'm grateful to be where I am, but I know where I came from and I know how I got here. And I promise you, the one thing that separated me from everyone else is that I wanted it so bad that I just didn't give up. I was so stubborn and so consistent and so willing to learn. And that all falls under the umbrella of just loving it and wanting it bad enough. Because if you don't want, and then just, I love this. I just got another BStars notification. As I said that, I also believe there's power in words and energy. And so I'm big into that. I don't want to get into that. We're already beyond time and metaphysics aren't really on the agenda, but your thoughts and the way you view your music career and your relationship to your music career are all important. Oh, Gerald Cleveland. Yeah, I know him. I don't actually, sorry. But shout out to Wisconsin. It's
I mean, what you said,
there are millions
100%.
of people here.
Look, I'll say the last thing I want to say. Just anyone, if you didn't listen to this, if you didn't pay attention, even if you did, just listen to one thing. Wizard is from a town called Malmo in Sweden, 300,000 people. Okay, you can make it happen from anywhere in the world. You just gotta work hard and believe in yourself. Just put in the work.